Hello and welcome to the Gambling Files podcast, the podcast that was curious enough to find out about recoppering pans, was shocked to learn that you're actually retinning a copper pan. Who knew? I'm one of your hosts, John Bruford, joined by your other host, Fintan Costello. Fintan, hello.
Where your brain goes to sometimes is just fascinating.
It's my everyday reality, Fintan.
It's how do you get anything done? When your
Who
brain
says I do?
Fair point. Fair point.
I've got plenty of clients that'll tell you. I'm not sure he does anything. But no, it was. I did take a voyage into the coppering of pans, or rather the tinning of pans, recently.
And are you looking for a tinker to fix it for you, or how does that work?
Well, no, see, after my folks died and we were clearing out their house, my brother and my sister and I asked Fern if there was anything she wanted to remember my mum by, and she said very cleverly, I thought, she said, "I'd like your mum's pans, her cooking pans." Now, these pans are now in my garage because Fern's moved house and some of her stuff is being stored here. But, she's also got a lot of newer stuff. And, I don't know that she'll want the pans back given the changes in her life. And I was looking at them and thinking, they're pretty old. They're actually, I'm pretty sure they're a wedding gift to my mum. And she'd have gotten married in 64, something like that. So these pans are 60 years old. And they were made in a factory where my dad worked.
Oh, wow.
A place called Prestige, which was they had a factory in Derby at that time. So I contacted Prestige because the copper on the bottom, they're not copper pans, but they have a copper bottom.
Okay.
Prestige were like, yeah, we don't do that anymore, and there's literally nothing we can do to help. But I contacted a place that does retinning to say it's not strictly what you do, but is it something you can help with? Because I'd really like to. I'd really like to just restore these. Even if Fern doesn't want them anymore, my sister would love them. I'd love them, for fuck's sake. So that was that journey, and a lady who's actually the director of the company emailed me back to ask for a bit more information. I sent her some photos, and I'm just waiting to hear back. I'll be sure to update you on the next step of the Pan Odyssey.
Well,
but you could call it Pan's Labyrinth.
Wait. But if it's a company still in bit, like this is great, like social media fodder for this firm as well. Like, hey, we had this pans, they're however many years old, we've just restored them, lifetime happy customer. Or it just opens up a flood of other people looking to get stuff restored, and it creates a nightmare. Who knows? But nice story.
Well, thanks. It's not over yet.
Oh.
But I mean, that part of it is.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. So that's where my head was at when I came up with that. You wait till the next one. Yeah. So what? I bet you've got some nice pans, haven't you?
Not really. Mostly IKEA type stuff. We for a while we did have like Jane had my wife's a big cook, and she had some like Crusade stuff and bits and pieces like that. But genuinely, like the IKEA frying pan for 20 quid is surprisingly good and stuff like that. So it's our pans aren't particularly special or fancy around that.
See, I invested in some not like overly sexy pans, but some fully just stainless steel pans when I moved here. And it was actually the thought of my mum's pans was why I spent the money on them. Because I thought, what a lovely thing to keep in your life. And I thought, at some point I want my kids to look at my pans and go, yeah, they can go to the charity shop. But so I invested in some not fancy schmancy pans, but pans that will show the wear and the love that I invested in them.
That's nice.
My kids will be, Dad cooked meat in that.
I'm more interested in stuff that can go in the dishwasher. It's typically my criteria. I'm a simple folk, so.
But I was reading recently as well about forever chemicals and all that jazz.
Oh yeah,
and that is really fascinating. And there was a story. I think it might have been on a BBC site. You know, you're familiar with the actor Michael Sheen?
Yes.
He's, so the Welsh dude, and
I'm thinking of Charlie Sheen, not Michael Sheen.
Yeah, or Martin. But he's neither of those. He's Welsh. And he had read a story about a guy who was kind of like a bit of a sort of a crusader in his local area, because he'd realized that the land had been and the water had all been poisoned by a nearby plant. And he set about proving it, but he was one of the things that had been poisoned by being in proximity to all this shit.
Really?
And Sheen read an article about this guy, got really interested, found him, contacted him. The guy said, "I'd love to chat, but I'm dying, so we should do it quite soon." And Sheen turns up with recording equipment, and they talked for 2 days. And he got the guy's whole story. And somebody's just done a podcast, I think, with Sheen as well, about this guy's, essentially his life's work, really, his legacy. And it's absolutely breathtaking. But the amount of chemicals that are being used in things that are just that businesses are fucking lying about things
sure.
that aren't toxic.
The chemicals and the microplastics are going to be our generation's asbestos, for sure.
Oh, it's going to be way worse than that. Yeah, way worse.
Or when like nuclear was a big thing and they were putting it in toothpaste. It's that level of stupidity, I think.
I think we're going to see life expectancies go down to around about the same as sort of medieval times, and not boosted by infant mortality either. I think people are just going to stop living anywhere near as long, and it's nothing to do with medicine. It's to do with plastic accreting in our kidneys. Yeah. So you know what? The world's changed so much in the last 10 years, and if you look at the extremes of weather now, everywhere in the world. If I were thinking about having kids now, I wouldn't have had kids.
Really?
Absolutely. Look at how much weather patterns have changed in 10 years.
I think I'm more of an optimist than you. I wouldn't. There's something like that wouldn't stop me at all.
I'm not saying stop you having sex. I'm just saying use contraception.
But compared to the world's never been safer. It doesn't feel like it, but the world's literally never been safer than it is right now. Stuff like that. So with the humans, we generally trend towards improvement and things getting better and fixing stuff and whatever. So I'm optimistic for humanity.
But these are things that we've already broken that I'm not sure we can fix now.
Well, we fixed the hole in the ozone layer and all sorts of other stuff. I'm sure we can figure it out.
Yeah, we stopped it growing anymore. But
It's fixed.
But that doesn't mean we can fix everything we fuck up.
We can.
And I'm by nature an optimistic person. I know I don't look like one.
Or I'll be dead before it's an issue. Yeah.
I guess the thing is as well that you've just got the one child, so you've effectively halved your collective footprint between yourself and your significant other.
That's why. Yeah. I don't know the amount of computer equipment he's got. I don't know about our footprint having.
Oh no, but your human footprint, if you like, is.
Oh, okay, yeah, for sure.
And so that's pretty commendable. I've expanded mine, and my brother, he's done it enough for a lot of people, I think. I did used to say that he was addicted to wedding cake. I thought that was his big problem.
Just tell him you can literally just go into a bakery and buy it. Like, you don't need the wedding to get the wedding cake.
I don't know. I think it must.
You can walk in on a. You can just go get it.
I think it must
give it to
taste different if you're wearing certain clothes.
You can put on the dinner jacket. That's easy. Anyway. Who do we have on the podcast this week?
That is a great question. And it might not just be this week, because who knows how many episodes we're going to do this week. Do you know? Because I certainly don't, and I'm cutting it together. I've got a clue. But I tell you what, right? This episode, I'm a big fan of this episode. I actually booked this episode in a little while ago because I was excited about doing it. So we speak to, assuming it all recorded okay, we speak to Angel, Espino, and Colin Feindt. And they are from the brilliantly named company Casino Gaming Development. Now, I was chatting to a former guest of ours, Stephen DeMar of Oddsworks, and Stephen was like, "You've got to meet these guys, because they've got this game, and I love it, and you got to meet these guys." And he told me some of the story, and I said, "Well, I know a podcast they could go on," and he's like, well, "Okay," and I meant this one. Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, but next we're fully booked. So he came on ours.
They don't have next budget, do they?
So those Angel and Colin are part of a team. I think it's 4 or 5 of them working together, and they all work. I don't think they all work at the same casino, but they all work in casinos in Colorado. And they're all working as dealers, so they've got a handle on one of the difficulties with new table games is it's 2 of the difficulties: making a game that's simple enough to explain to a player in 10 seconds, and a game that's simple enough for a dealer to pick it up in a few minutes and be able to deal it. And doing what they do, they're super familiar with that, and I think, the game. Well, the game that they came on to, although we didn't talk about the game until quite late in the podcast, but the game's 3-shot poker, and it's a really, really interesting variation on poker. And it's currently being rolled out in casinos in North America. And yeah, I think put it this way: I'm not a poker player. I'd sit down and play
it. I think what I love about it is the kind of the mechanics of the game design. So I've done a lot of stuff with, say, websites, and you make a website and you think your website's beautiful and it's great, and then you watch just 10 minutes of footage of people using your website. So you can use tools like Hotjar or Clarity or whatever that record user sessions, and you kind of see where the mouse goes and what people are clicking on and what they're doing. And I guarantee you within 10 minutes, you'll find a ton of stuff on your website that's like, oh my God, I can't believe we did that. This makes no sense. And da-da-da-da. And it's such a great tool to give your developers and your designers and stuff of, hey, just here's a bunch of users using this page or using the website, or here's a heat map of where everybody's going, and you instantly identify stuff. And with game development, typically it's like the guy in his garage who's obsessed over this game for years, but it's kind of disconnected a little bit from reality. And what I love about the team was they're listening to players, they're picking up insights, they're quickly prototyping games themselves and dealing 200, 300, 400 hands and seeing how it works out. And then they can quickly get user feedback and stuff. So also their kind of feedback loop is really grounded in reality rather than the lone eccentric, I'm going to change the world with my game concept, which is very rare, practically impossible, particularly in the modern casino world as well, where, it's done by spreadsheets ultimately. So I'm a big fan of the team, and I think they're, if it's not this one and it's not the next one, the system they've set up is they're going to have hundreds of these ideas, and it just takes. It's a bit like a movie industry or a record label. It just takes that one game, and every game they launch and they test and they feedback, they'll learn from and improve it. So it's basically, if you're going to back somebody, just back this team for the next 20 years, and they're going to come up with the next game. And it's really exciting to see.
Well, if I was somebody like MGM, I'd go see these. I'd buy the fucking business and say, just come and do it. Just come and develop for us.
Yeah, 100%.
Develop for our online, develop for our casinos, because even if somebody robs it, you've still got a 6 to 9 month lead. I would have thought. Certainly a 3 to 6 month lead.
Well, they're good at patenting stuff, and they're smart guys.
They've got fucking lawyers.
They've got patents.
I've heard.
And it's I agree. I think having an R&D team for the floor would be great.
And Stephen himself pops up in the conversation as well.
He does.
This is the recording. This is a recording actually where you're having broadband trouble and you have to WhatsApp me questions.
So I could, so for the preamble is I could see and hear everything, but they couldn't see and hear me. So I was WhatsApping Jon my questions, and I was doing it through proxy with Jon. It was very funny. But yeah, big fans of the guys. Talking of big fans, as we're recording this, we are mere weeks away from IGB Amsterdam.
We really are.
My diary is nearly full. Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
Are you telling me that or our listeners?
I just that it's book your meetings. It's nearly all over. It's busy. Getting a lot of messages from people.
What are the dates of the show?
Oh, I don't know. Hang on, it's in my diary. I'm not good with dates. 16th to the 19th of July. So weeks away, days away.
Well, really. I won't be attending because I have a big birthday the week before. Plus, it's the Prestine Carnival. Plus, the week after which will actually be the 20th, I've got my school reunion. It's a big month for me, July. Oh no, I'm not going. It's just on.
I was going to say, you couldn't pay me. There's no way I'll go back.
My year all gets on pretty well.
That's nice.
But the cold, brutal truth is I'm only 20 miles away.
Yeah, I think I survived secondary school. I felt like a prison sentence at some point. Wasn't for me. Formal education wasn't for me in this kind of school.
So, did you learn more at the University of Life on the cold, cruel streets of Dublin?
It's a long story, but Anyway, it's like we could unpack.
So I should know better than to ask anybody from Ireland why they had a shit time at school, given the fucking Magdalene sisters, or however you say it, and all of that chat.
It was a lay school. There was no clergy in charge, but you do have a little bit of that kind of historical institutional memory. That's probably the best way to describe it. Where you rule through fear rather than compassion.
Dude, I grew up in the 1970s. Every school did that.
Yeah, so it's definitely I compare it to like school my son goes to now, and it's just like, holy shit, everybody's so
fucking
nice.
Hippies hugging each other.
Professional. Everyone's so professional. There's no teachers with hangovers and stinking of cigarettes and just like sitting there doing the crossword.
Amateurs. I'm not sure I could trust them.
Yeah, but no, high school wasn't for me.
But speaking of school, what our listeners and or viewers could do is they could approach Optimove for a product demo, because you'd certainly learn something then.
You absolutely will. You'd be schooled in how great their system is. The iGaming industry's #1 CRM platform. I think nearly all the major operators in the US do it. I think the majority of the EGR Power 50 use it. We'd use it if we had customers.
Totally would.
Just sending off to move back their own emails. Buy more. You need more sponsorship.
That's not a bad idea.
I know. So they're really good. We're big fans, and they've been great to us. So there's a link in the description, and click through and book a demo. And tell us we're wrong if we're wrong. But we're not.
Do it.
Right. So right.
But the other thing is as well, the link in the demo. It's unique to this podcast, and it being used means that podcasts like ours get supported, and the time that we put in is, if
Jon doesn't hit his numbers, they beat him. So it's really important.
It's very fair. It's a lot like being at high school in Ireland. Come full circle.
The hungover Christian brother walking in with a rod.
Do you know that I was just about to say I was remarkably well behaved at secondary school. I actually wasn't. I know.
Nobody's surprised, Jon. Nobody's surprised.
But I was. I didn't really start misbehaving until sixth form, which for listeners outside the UK it's an optional educational thing you attend from 16 to 18 years old. But that was where I discovered drink and drugs and smoking. I had a whale of a time. I really did. Oh, this is one of the reasons I'm a terrible parent. When Lorna was young, she'd be asking me about drugs. She'd be like, "Have you taken such and such?" I go, "Yep." Why? Because I thought it'd be fun. Was it?
It made me look cool.
Well, no, because I had quite a lot of solitary experiences.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I've ever done anything out of peer pressure. And was it fun? And I would answer honestly, yes or no. Why not? Well, because this happened, and then this happened, and then I set that on fire, and so on. And then we'd get to the one where I'd just be, yes, it was enormous fun, and I think everybody should do it. And that was mushrooms. I do think that the mushrooms should be. The Conservative government in the UK, they got a lot of headlines by saying they should bring national service back for young people. Well, I think they should just introduce mushrooms for everybody. And just once, just so that you can experience what it's like to just laugh your ass off nonstop. It is pretty fun.
Nice.
But anyway, just say no to drugs, kids. And visit our sponsors. Vincent, how am I doing?
Oh, you're great.
I'm just keeping it real.
So real. Too real.
Anyway, meet Angel and Colin, and later Stephen and Fintan's Black Screen of Doom. And enjoy the episode. And I just realized I didn't ask if everybody was okay with us recording video. So we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're joined by two guests, and I'm not sure how this is going to format. I think you're probably going to get my big melon head, Fintan's big fucking wig wearing head, and half a face each of our guests. But I'm not sure. I mean, hang on. If I go half a face, maybe it'll look like we're with one person. Ooh. But anyway, sorry. We're joined by two guests. And I very deliberately didn't write down any details about them before pressing record. We're joined by Angel Espino and Colin Feindt. I hope I said your names correctly.
Yes. Perfect.
We might be joined by a third in a little while. It's anybody's guess. But gentlemen, Where are you from? What's your company name?
So the name of the company is Casino Gaming Development. CGD is short. We're out of Denver, Colorado, and we're all dealers, and we all work at Ameristar in Black Hawk, Colorado.
Drug dealers.
Correct. Yeah, we deal all table games, craps, roulette, all novelty games, blackjack.
I was going to ask what the main drugs were in Colorado, because I would think pot would be very popular.
Yeah, pot's a big one. I think we were the first one to go legal as far as recreation.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Well, so one of the things that I like, so when I was hearing one of your, I guess I could call him a colleague, couldn't I, Stephen?
Yes.
Yes.
When I was talking to Stephen about what you guys are up to, and he told me the name of your company, I was like, well, I've got to talk to them just because the company has such a great name. So what does the company Casino Gaming Development do exactly?
So our main focus is casino table games. So we design anything from new blackjack variations, poker games, crap side bets, new poker variations, all that. So our main focus right now is phase one for CGD is designing new table games for the casino industry, the brick and mortar space.
Okay, now the reason that this is actually genuinely interesting is, so I know a few people in the game development side of things, and they always cite the same sort of problems for people developing games, and when people come to them with games. And those issues are generally things like, how quickly can you communicate it to a player, to a potential player? And also, just as vital, how quickly can you train a dealer on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, you guys doing what you do, working as dealers, not actually drug dealers, if anybody from the DEA happens to be listening. You working as dealers, I'm going to assume that that's something that you've very much borne in mind when you've been developing stuff. Is that something that when you're working, is that front and center in the noodle, or what?
Yes, because as dealers, we're the I guess we're, like you said, front and center. We're the deal breakers when it comes to a game. You got to be able to communicate the game and explain the game in a short time frame, because players had short attention span. So you got to be able to explain the game clearly, correctly, and so that's the player side. For the dealer side, when we fly out and do training for properties, we have to make sure that we can convey the concept easily to the dealers. So if dealers can pick it up really well and deal it fairly and smoothly and in a timely fashion, but they also have to be able to relay that information to the player. So that's a crucial point. It's one of the main causes a game can make it or break in the industry.
Especially with the hands of players nowadays, having a few drinks in them. If a dealer can't communicate how to play a game in about 30 seconds or less, they're on to the next.
Yeah.
It's TikTok generation, telling you.
100%.
Yeah.
How does the, like, what's the development process for a game? So you guys like come up with an idea, you're chatting over dinner one day, you see something on the casino floor that sparks
all of the above,
or
yeah, all of the above. We've broken down like a 12-step SOP kind of structure that we like to follow, but not necessarily go step by step. But a lot of the times, one of us will come up with a concept. Hey, we're working 40 hours a week in the gaming floor, so we always have our ear to the ground. So one of us might hear something or see something, and we brainstorm. We all get together at a bar or a restaurant, and we hang out and shoot ideas and kind of cross-reference our concepts, or we all give in our input, and then we go from there. We start breaking down the game, And once we write down the structure, the rules of play, what we do after that is we do preliminary math. So we have a mathematician that does preliminary math. And once we know that the math works, or it's, the game is actually, doable, is practical, then from there we order a layout. We do just a basic concept table layout, and then we deal hundreds of hands and just get the flow of the game. Now, having the background in gaming, we focus a lot on procedure. We focus a lot on game protection. So then that's when we take it to the other level. It's like, is this game viable? Can we deal it correctly? Procedures, game protection. And then once we know that the game has potential, we all have to like it. We're 5 dealers, and it has to have the approval of all 5 of us. And if we all feel good about it, we feel comfortable, we think it's going to be a hit, then we start investing the capital. Then we get the GLI math. We it can go anywhere between $5,000-$10,000 to get the math approved. Then from there we go back to the layout design. Then we finalize the layout, pay tables, and then from there we go into the legal side with the patent filing, copyrights, and trademarks.
Now, Fintan's broadband sucks right now. So, if at any point I just appear to be nodding. Hang on, the cat's coming. Can you hear the cat?
And there's your guest appearance right there.
Yeah, there's a guest appearance.
Okay, I mean, he's a lovely cat. Don't get me wrong, but he likes to announce his entrance.
Awesome.
You might see him in a minute, or you might see his ass in a minute, because he'll plonk himself right there with his ass under my nose. It's like, you look like you want to smell my ass. Do you want to smell my ass? Anyway, so listen, like the mathematical part of this, right? So I know that like some people come up with an idea, and then they figure out how the house edge works, right?
Yes.
And I know some companies have people who are just working on mathematics of these things. Like, is that something that you guys kind of have in mind? Is that something that you guys do yourself, or do you have outside help for that, or do you have somebody in your team specializing?
Yes, as a team collectively, we have a pretty good idea when it comes to probability, because we know probabilities really well, whether it's dice, cards, but to get the true math, we got lucky. We came across a gentleman, Noah Dean, and he used to work for GLI. And he went independent, went on his own. He's a professor right now, in mathematics. So we contract him. And the good thing of having him in our team as a contractor is that he can really give us a good feedback on the probability of a game, if it's probable, if it can make it work. And he works really well with us, hand in hand. We go back and forth a lot to make sure we hit the RTPs, make sure that if we like the payouts. So it's a lot of fine tuning, working one-on-one with a professional, or with a mathematician that has I believe he has a master's degree in mathematics. So we work very closely with him before we invest the big capital in getting the GLI approvals and all that. But it's good to have him in our corner, because he's such a talented and experienced mathematician that's focuses only on table games or the gaming industry. So it's good to have him.
Yeah, ultimately a game, the math will dictate everything, because we could have a great idea, blue sky idea, but if we can't make the math work, then it's not a viable game.
Not a viable game.
Seriously, right? Do you guys, are you familiar with the game Shithead?
No, not.
It's a great game, right? And the loser gets everybody else pointing at him and going, shithead, right? But the end game in Shithead is brilliant. I mean, it's really cool. You play 3 cards. You got 3 piles of cards. You got 6 cards, 3 face down, 3 face up on top of them. You got to play your face up cards first. You play your face down cards blind.
Okay.
Wow.
And I love it. And I can't quite figure out how to monetize it. I can't quite figure out how to put an edge into it. but I do believe that the format could work in a casino. Plus, calling the game shithead still, it markets itself.
I like,
Well, I like the concept, but corporate America is a little strict on those.
But you know what? The world is a big place. It's not all. It's not just about America these days.
Yeah, I mean, you can go online for sure. Yeah, online, it's got potential.
I've got high
Now,
hopes.
did you come up with the name with the game, or is that something that you?
I did. It's just one of those games that just sort of gets passed around by word of mouth.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking forward to teaching it to my own children in the not too distant future. But
maybe we'll look into it. We'll look into see if we can figure out a way, like you said, if you can monetize it or give it a twist where the house can have an edge or something. Anything's possible. I like the concept though.
I think it's a total winner. Now, Fintan has just messaged me. This is going to seem like a séance. Like, Fintan, if you're there, WhatsApp me twice. But he's having a he can see and hear us, but we're not seeing and hearing him.
Cool.
So he's sending me questions on it. Also, if it sounds like there's a motorbike in here, it's not. It's just a really big fly. And if it goes past the microphone, you might just hear this really big fly. So how long does it take to because it's not just thinking of it, it's developing it, it's the table felt, it's perfecting the training, it's from thinking up a game to getting it on trial somewhere. What sort of time period is that?
Good question.
Oh man, on average, it could take anywhere between a year, 2 years, but having the team that we put together, we work really fast. In fact, we literally created a game, 3-shot poker, and within 6 months, it was already winning an award at the Table Games Conference.
We're going to come to that game in a minute. So don't shoot your bolt too soon on that one.
And so we've gotten really lucky that we created a good team around us, not only collectively us as dealers, and we brainstorm fast, come up with ideas, but we have a math team, we have a marketing team, we have a layout designer, logo designer, and our patent, our legal team is amazing. So in this journey of game development, we've been able to put a team outside of us together, a lot of contractors that work really fast, really well with us. Our synergy works really good when it comes to the creative process. So on average, we've put a game together, and from ideation to presentation to launch, we've done it even within 12 months. But I said on average, if you're lucky, 2 years is, if you're lucky, you can get a game from just ideation to going live in a brick and mortar space. 2 years is, you're lucky to be able to do that.
Okay. Now here's the other thing, because I would imagine you know fairly quickly if a game's going to work or not going to work. What sort of time period are we talking for that? Like 20 minutes?
No. One of the things that I've talked to professionals in the industry is, you'll know, a lot of operators, and what I mean by operators is casino managers or whoever is making decisions, they'll give your game 3-month trial. A 3-month trial. If the game does well in 3 months, they'll decide keep it or not. But one of the things that I've heard in the industry, if a game can be in the gaming floor for over a year, then you have a viable game. And so we're at the cusp of that with some of our games that have been around, some for over a year, and one is about to hit that benchmark. So we're excited about that.
That's like the TV show that reaches 100 episodes, right? Suddenly you're in syndication.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yep.
Okay, this is a Fintan question.
Okay.
He says, to be deemed a success, what KPIs need to be hit in the casino?
Oh, that's a good question because
He's the brains. I'm just the looks.
yeah, it's a good question because everywhere you go, every jurisdiction is different, right? If we're on the Strip in Las Vegas, it's totally different than a mom and pop casino here in Blackhawk, Central City, or Cripple Creek. So every operator looks at the numbers differently. But for us, a rule of thumb, and I always tell the team when we're looking for a game to produce and be successful, there's like a window. The RTP, not only RTP, but the house edge, all these numbers got to hit right, and the hold percentage, which is the hold, the HOLD. A lot of properties are looking somewhere between the low 20s and mid 20s for a hold percentage for a casino, which is anybody outside of the industry goes, that's a crazy number. But to compete with the other games, you're looking at about low 20, mid 20 house hold to stay in the gaming floor.
Well, it's the thing, because if you're competing against a game that is putting that number out,
Yes,
you have to at least match it. Otherwise,
Exactly.
what's
Correct.
the point in having you there?
yes,
Right.
yeah, and that's why it's such a competitive dog world, because you might have the best game, the best concept, people love it, and the table will be full all day. And then an operator be like, I'm going to take it out. I'm like, but we saw it was full this whole weekend. And it's like, if the numbers don't hit, it doesn't matter how nice your logo is, your layout, or it's got to hit the numbers.
But if that happens, do you generally have the opportunity to tweak it and fix it? Or
Yes.
is that something, or is the operator just like, get out?
Yeah, no, majority of the time, the operator would just say, get out, moving on, because they have to plan the next 30 days. And for us to tweak it and then go through another field trial process through gaming, it's a 9-month process on the low end. So we have to put an application that's 3 months, and then field trial that's 3 months, and then approval another 3 months. So by the time we adjust the pay table, they don't have time for that. So they're like, nope, we got to go to the next game and the next game and the next game.
Right. So when we create games now, what we generally do is make sure that we have 3 different pay tables. That way we give operators flexibility in the case of it's holding too much, it's not doing well enough. We kind of give them those 3. That way they can pick and choose, okay, I want to be more aggressive, I want to be more generous with my games.
Yeah.
Okay. This might sound like a bonkers question, given because I'm just trying to think of the information that you'd have on the table, Felt, but is it? I honestly don't know if this is a stupid question. I feel like I didn't sleep very well last night, so if it is a stupid one, it's,
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
it's just bad luck. But is it
Yeah.
possible? Say you have these 3 pay tables, right, with your game. Is it possible, viable, sensible, or am I being a dumbass for the operator to switch them around according to, because I mean, any casino, even on the Strip, you're going to have a different player on a Tuesday night to a Saturday night.
100%.
Is that
Right.
something that operators do? Do they monkey with it that way?
No, no, and they might change from from a 3-month process or 6-month, a longer time span. Maybe change it once just to make an adjustment, but on the fly, back and forth, you don't want to do that because you'll confuse, number one, the players, but the big one, you're going to confuse the dealers. So we, as dealers, we work with muscle memory. So if we're paying 40 hours a week, we're paying 3 to 1 on one pay table, and the operator changes it the next day, you're going to see mistakes left and right. Even if the pay table is right in front of you, we work by muscle memory or just by memory alone, and you're going to see a lot of mistakes. So you probably don't want to do that just for the game protection purposes.
That does make sense. Although I don't know if you've seen this, but like smart tables have really taken off in Asia.
Oh,
And I do wonder if they, you know, I mean, smart tables, you know, the RFID chips and the scanners and all that have actually been around for, I don't know, 10 years, something, probably
yeah.
maybe more than 10 years actually. So we're talking about a really mature product that just didn't really take off, and it needed Macau because of the volume of the table games for it to take off and for it to be really viable. But I do wonder if because Baccarat in Vegas is doing massive numbers now. It's just just gone crazy.
Yes.
You know, obviously you guys are in Colorado, which, you know, I'm no geographer, but it's not Las Vegas. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
would there be, if you as a dealer had a tool like that, would you be comfortable with being able to switch around pay tables?
As a dealer, probably not. Changing back and forth, it just opens yourself to a lot of mistakes, and then
But
game
it'd
protection
be like
side.
working a supermarket checkout. It'd be like, take the guy's money and give him this amount of change.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea. I like the idea of being able to adjust something on the fly depending on your market, right? Depending on the flow or the clientele, or even just the higher limit. Maybe higher limit you award a little better because you're risking more. You know, I like the concept, but being able to change back and forth, it creates more problems than it does a solution.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I told you it was probably a stupid question.
No, it's not. It's
No.
actually a good question because it could be applied in online gaming or ETGs. It could
I think
totally be applied.
if Fintan were going to talk, we're able to talk now though. I feel that what he would say is, don't encourage him.
No, I like the ideas, man. I like blue sky ideas. In our team, when we get together and we brainstorm, we never put each other down. We never do. We'll attack the idea. We go after it and dissect it and break it down to its core. But we never say anything bad or to each other, no matter how crazy your idea is, because we don't want to shut down that creativity. We want to make sure we feed the creativity. So sometimes we'll have a concept and one of us would be like, well, that already exists. You know, we don't say, oh, you're stupid, or that's a bad idea, or stop thinking that way. No,
Well, that's very inclusive. But you know, when people say things like, there are no stupid questions, I always say, you've obviously not spent much time with me. Fintan and I were having a conversation before we started recording, and I think I surprised him because he popped up in the studio thing, and I went, so, right, 9/11 conspiracy theorists, right? And he's like, you can see, he's like, where the hell did this come from? But it's been bothering me all weekend, right? Because you see these people and they're like, and if you two are, that's fine, you know, good luck to you and everything. But you see these people and they're like, oh yeah, but steel doesn't do that when this happens to it and all this sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I just think, but nobody ever flew a fucking jumbo jet into a skyscraper before.
Right.
I mean, this is quite literally and I appreciate that I'm putting a fucking awful event into facile terms, but this is essentially a control event that shows you what, in fact, does happen when somebody does that. And instead of going, holy shit, that happened, I wasn't expecting that, everybody's like, no, it doesn't happen to steel. No, it doesn't. It's impossible. No. I'm pretty sure it did. I remember being at work. I was working for a pornographer at the time. I remember being at work and everybody was like clustered around these screens, and they're just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is insane. It was like lunchtime and everybody's like, is this real? This can't be. And I was actually due to go on a date that night. I went on a date. And a woman, because even central London was just like really quiet. The whole world was just like, what the hell?
Wow.
And like, you know, in Britain, there's a fairly long history of all kinds of doing all kinds of awful shit and being a part of all kinds of awful shit. But you know, everybody was just like, this is just, and central London was absolutely dead. And I said to the woman, I said, you know, we can just go out another time. And she's like, no, let's go out tonight. So we went out. We had too much to drink and sat and watched the news.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, they say
That
romance
had
is
to be.
dead.
Did you get the second date?
Yeah, oddly enough, I did.
Yeah.
I think I just got her drunk enough to not, remember anything I said. I think. And also, easy anniversary to remember. Like,
Yeah.
I always remember, and this is again going to sound like I'm being facile about terrible things, but I always remember the day of my mum's death, July the 4th, because my brother lives in the States, and I had to phone him and tell him, and he was away at some friends celebrating, July the 4th, of celebrating a holiday weekend with them, and I totally ruined his weekend.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that, man. That's tough.
Well, no, but what I like to say to friends in America every year is, would you please remember my mum by lighting fireworks and drinking lots of beer?
Well, we do.
We can do that. we can do that. Yeah.
And the whole country gets behind it. It's,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think it's a nice way for her to be remembered. So,
Yes.
Our conversation today came about because I was talking to your colleague Stephen DeMar of Oddsworks Gaming, and we're fans of Stephen. We've had Stephen on as a guest in the past,
Awesome.
and like me and Fintan were like, we got off the record and we were like, they've just like, that's such a brilliant business. Like they've just got such a good idea there. And Stephen's, I mean, he's always a pleasure to talk to. He's a really fascinating man.
Yes.
But he's also super sharp.
Yes.
And
yes.
When we were talking, we were shooting the shit, and he said, I've got these guys I'd like to talk to you about in Colorado. And I said, well, presumably they're vegan potheads. And he said, I'm not sure. But
and we're not.
But he told me about, he was talking about 3-shot poker basically. And I think it came up in conversation because we were talking about Richard Marcus, who's also been on the podcast, who organizes the table game protection event. Now, the thing that you guys won was at Richard's event, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So has Richard seen and played your game?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Did he say anything about it? Was he like, "You jokers, get out"? Or
no, he seemed pretty happy about it, and we won first place with 3-shot poker at his event.
Wait, first place in what though? Was it the worst game category?
No, the best game of the year award.
Best in table game.
Best in table games. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but as events go, and for the demographic that go to that event, that's a tough crowd.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah, because they're all operators and casino managers, GMs,
table game specialists.
Yes.
Table game specialists. Yes, analysts. Yeah.
That's kind of a big boost that we have at those conferences, is because we work on the casino floor and we know from dealer standpoint, from the operator standpoint, what they're looking for, and we can speak the lingo. So when they're like, how do you guys know how to do this? It's like, you guys are dealers. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine that's also pretty useful when you're training dealers.
Oh, it's crucial. I think it's a big part of the success that we've had to this point, is our ability to talk to dealers and go, I know that you don't want to learn a new game, but I'm not here just to sell this game. I'm here to make your casino better. I'm here to put more money in your guys' pocket. We want games that the dealers are going to make money off of, the casino is going to make money off of, and it's going to be a good experience for everybody.
Yeah, certainly it was one of the intriguing things when I was talking to Stephen was he said that you guys go and do the training yourselves. And I thought, actually, I can see other dealers responding really positively to that.
Yeah, we've had some really, really positive feedback, and we made some great relationships and friendships because of that. And dealers can relate to us. All out the gate, they give you a lot more respect. and they start listening to what you have to say. As soon as you say, look, I'm in your position, we're dealers, we're still dealing to this day. So when they see that and they hear that, then all of a sudden you got their you catch their attention, and now you have a captive audience. So they listen to what you're saying, and then when we give them our backstory of why we're starting this, why we started CGD, was not only do we want to create games that are good for the players, good for the house, but also for dealers, something fun to deal, something easy to deal, something where a game where you can make some money. And then all of a sudden, they're on your side now. And they'll try to sell the game a little bit harder for you on the gaming floor. So it's good to have that advantage, that experience.
And having the dealers on our side is so big, because if I know firsthand experience, if I'm standing dead on a table game and I don't really want to deal with the game, people are going to walk by and I'm not going to give it the sell that it needs to be successful. So if we can get the dealers on our side and know that, hey, they're actually going to push the game, like that makes such a big difference in the properties that have had us come train.
Yeah, and every time we see a new game coming outside of our games, coming to a property, we never meet the developer. We never meet the company or the president or the creative directors. So it feels nice. I know we get a lot of positive feedback and comments when dealers are like, we actually met the developers. They're like, we're the developers, and we come and shake your hand, and we'll bring T-shirts and give out promos and in the training room. So just to inspire and motivate them. So
you can't beat good swag.
Right?
Fintan is like, he's the worst for swag, right? So he does some running, which he doesn't like to talk about, but you'll see frequently on the podcast videos that he's wearing race swag.
Okay.
And in particular, he did this one race that I always call a posh kid race. I mean, I'd love to do it, but I'm never going to afford to be able to do it. It's called the Marathon des Sables, and it's a race across the Sahara Desert.
Oh.
And it's like I think it's a 5-day race, and it is a tough race. You know, you've got to carry your own crap. There's no aid stations or anything like that. It's the Sahara.
Wow.
And it is a tough race, and he really enjoyed it. But when he finished it, he cleaned out the swag store. He has all of it.
Nice.
It's a good memory, right? You want to have that.
I guess. And of course it reminds me that he's done it. So that's equally valuable, I think. I hope he can still hear us. I've got a Fintan question here.
Yeah.
And it's a really good question. Actually, I'm going to do this in 2 parts. At what point do you need to patent your game ideas, or at what stage does that come into it, that sort of copyright protection come into it? Do you need to do that before it goes out to anybody?
Yes, we make sure that we file all protection, whether it's copyright, trademark, or patents. Anytime we're going to show it to the public, show the game to a public, whether we're going to go to a show or just introduce it, whether it's on a podcast or anything live, we make sure that we file all our protections, just to protect ourselves and our investment.
Are you planning on taking these intellectual properties online?
Yes, that's a great question. Our first game, we just signed with Oddsworks, and we're about to launch. We're in the final phases of launching 3-Shot Poker. We think this is our strongest game so far, and for the online space, we think it's going to do really well because it's easy to learn, easy to play, and in the public, we feel like the hands per hour, the movement, the flow of the game allows itself to do really well in the online space.
Okay, it is time to tell us about 3-Shot Poker. What is it?
Yes, so 3-Shot Poker, the best way to describe it is we took a couple of elements of three few different games that we deal and we like, but the game came about I was dealing on a table game, and I've noticed the lady was reacting to her cards different than everybody else. So I always kept that in back of my mind, like, you know, giving the player 2 cards and then maybe have 3 community cards. So that I liked the way she was playing a certain game, but it was not our game. It was just a different game. So one day I was driving home from work. We had just gone off work, Colin and I, and Colin happened to call me that on the way down, just random conversation. I forgot what we were talking about, and in a flash, the whole game just hit me, and I was lucky to have Colin on the phone with me, because usually I'll have an idea and I just keep driving and then I'll forget what the idea was. But the concept came through, and we were just talking about it. He was, hey, tell me about the game, the concept, and just broke down the idea. You know, Colin was asking the hard questions like, well, how would it work? How would you deal it? How does this work? Where do you put this? And how does that work? So we just, by the time we got home, we had a game. You know, and it was a really, I mean, we're excited about it. We're like, I think this is viable. Mm-hmm. So we went to the next step, and from there we went with the math. We broke down the rules and how it would work. And next thing you know, we're doing the layout and the math. But the beauty about the game is every player gets 2 cards, 2 whole cards, and then there's 3 community cards. So the dealer you don't play against the dealer. You're just playing against a pay table. So the whole objective is, with your 2 cards and there's 3 community cards, you're trying to make 3 independent 3-card poker hands. So there's a game that exists that it's a staple. It's called 3-card poker. So it's 3-card poker on steroids, basically. You're able to make 3 independent hands with your 2 cards. So we feel with the hit frequency in the RTP would do really well.
So when the player is betting, are they betting on 3 individual hands? Is it one overall bet that might have 3 winning elements? How does that part work?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the player starts with the first shot. So there's going to be 3 different betting spots. But you start with the initial one just to see your cards. And if you like what you see, then you'll call the second and third position. And the first, second, and third position indicates which of the 3 you're going to play. So either you play all 3 or you fold your cards. So if you like what you see, then you call the other 2, and then each wager is independent to the 3 community cards.
Right, but you've got to bet all 3 or nothing.
Correct.
Yes. All 3.
So is that where some of the edge is?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And then we created a side wager where you're playing all 5 cards. So that's called a 5-shot poker, the poker wager, and it's you're betting on a 5-card poker hand. So your 2 whole cards and 3 community cards makes a 5-card poker hand. And then that was genius, because now we can link 3-shot poker to all variable poker game variations on the gaming floor. So whether it's Texas Hold'em or all variations, we can connect it on the progressives because of that 5-shot hand.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But also, while we're talking, I'm sitting here thinking, hang on, you could do a blackjack version of that as well.
Well,
I don't even need paying for that. Sorry, Colin.
Yeah.
No, that's a pretty good idea.
I like the way your brain works. That's pretty cool.
But yeah, but that idea of kind of 3 separate hands from, 3 variables from one deal. It's really very cool.
It makes it. I'll tell you, it's funny because we've had that game out for a couple of years now, and it's hard as a dealer to like go deal regular 3-card poker now. Like, it just seems so boring to me when I can just make one simple hand, when I know that we have a game that's just literally it's 3 times more exciting.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. And I bet, yeah, as a player, but also, so the 5-card deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's part of this same game, and it's a side bet.
Correct.
Exactly.
It's an optional wager. You can put.
Yes.
Yeah. And what's really neat is that you have to bet the wager before you get your 2 cards, right? But
Yeah.
even if you fold your 3-shot hand, you're still in the game for the 5-shot. So you still have something to fall back on. So.
Can you imagine the speed that you can deal and play this online?
Yes, exactly.
That's it, and that's the beauty about
The
working with
speed of
Oxford.
settling it. That's beautiful.
And
Yeah.
it's and
That's
because
gonna be
it's so
good.
simple, I think that we talked about the online space. The online space doesn't necessarily have a dealer there walking you through the steps of how to play the game. So that's why the simpler a game can be, the more traction it's going to get. So really, that's one of the best things that the game has for it, is that you could just watch. You could play one hand and go, "I got this game."
Yeah.
But this could work in a live dealer environment as well.
And it does.
Correct. ETGs, stadium blackjack or stadium poker games, dealer assisted or not, it will work either way. And that's the whole objective of our company is we want to create games that are going to be realistic. You can deal them on the brick and mortar, but in the online space, we want to create games that are so simple and so catchy that you're going to be able to, do both. So every game that we create, we have that in mind as we're developing, not only for dealers in a brick and mortar space, but we're already thinking, the next step, which would be the online space or ETG. So whether it's our baccarat game or our pai gow game or our blackjack game, we want to make sure that the games are easy to learn and easy to catch on, so you can play both online and the brick and mortar space.
Very, very cool. Where has 3-shot poker been on trial? When you're looking to place things on trial, do you start by going to places that you've got an existing relationship with?
Yes.
Or is that how does all that work? I mean, because let me just before you answer, one of the things that's really fascinating about the casino industry in America is the presence and the influence in technological terms of tribal casinos. Because you find that almost all the really interesting technology has its first steps in a tribal casino, because they're much quicker to be willing to have a look at something and go, we'll give it a go. We'll give it 3 months. We'll give it 6 months.
Yes.
So, what were your steps trial wise?
Initially for us is like you said, we always go. Our first goal is to approach our already established relationships with certain properties, and then they've already probably given one of our games a shot. So usually they'll give our second game, third game an opportunity. But the second step is we go to whether it's G2E in Las Vegas or we go to the Table Games Conference and we pitch ideas, and then we make these contacts with these operators, and we try to say, pitch the game and try to get an opportunity to get a field trial. So right now, 3-shot poker has been live for a little bit over 6 months in Las Vegas. We finally broke ground. That was one of our bucket lists, to put our games on the Las Vegas Strip. So it's live at the Flamingo and Harrah properties, Caesars properties right now.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You should have a word with Richard Marcus as well, because he's bringing the Table Game Protection Conference to London in November.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that'll be something
very
cool.
Nice opportunity to show it to Europe.
Yeah, that's something that we've been thinking about and talking about, and hopefully we can make that happen and introduce some of our games across the pond.
Well, I know that the listener demographic of this podcast, well, you wouldn't believe it if I told you, but a lot of operators, a lot of board level people. So I hope they're listening to this and thinking, that sounds interesting.
That'd be awesome.
How many properties are your games in? I mean, I know the development process takes a long time, and I know traction takes a lot. I mean, unless it's fucking 3-card poker and a 3-card, not 3-shot, it's hard.
Yes.
But how's that going? How's your exposure?
Exposure has been well, but like you said, things take time. Right now we're in Las Vegas. Harrah and Flamingo, and we're also at Firekeepers. 3-Shot Poker is at Firekeepers in Michigan.
Nice.
Saratoga here in Colorado, we have 3-Shot Poker. And then Pocket Rockets, our blackjack variation, Pocket Rockets and Ace Busters is at Eagle Mountain in California. And then we just launched a 5-card Pai Gow. It's one of our newest games. Instead of a 7-card Pai Gow game, it's 5 cards, 3 for the high, 2 for the low. That game went live in Mexico in Caliente Casino. So we're and then the latest game is Barbecue Baccarat, which we're wearing the shirt. We're trying to break ground here in Colorado. We're talking to some properties and hopefully be the first ones here to launch this new game.
So we're not actually, it's not like we're just talking about tiny little properties in the arse end of nowhere. You're actually in some really nice properties.
Yes, and that was hard to break ground though, because initially nobody knew who we were, so nobody wants to not even answer the phone, much less open the door for you. So getting oh, you weren't kidding. And, so breaking ground in big properties, well-known properties, was a big stepping stone for us.
Now I've got to stroke him. Anybody out there that's got a cat knows what I'm talking about. And see, now the dog has seen the cat climb up on the desk, so the dog is squeaking because he's jealous.
Yeah.
Which should be fine if it was like a little lap dog or something, but it's not. My dog's like, I've got to think in American terms now. My dog weighs like over 100 pounds.
Oh, wow. That's a big dog.
Hey, that's like 50 kilos, right?
Yeah, and he's like, if the cat's on my lap just getting a bit of fuss, as cats do, the dog will just come and stick his shovel head right in there as well. So that, like the cat doesn't get fussed like this. The cat has to come and find me for this. He can't just come and sit on my lap because the fucking dog's face will end up in there. How's like, I hope, I'm not trying to get you fired, but how's your, what's been your feedback like? Has there been any feedback from where you work? I mean, are they supportive?
Yeah, they're supportive, but unfortunately, it at certain times it could be a conflict of interest of putting our game in our own property. Our gaming commission and gaming district, they're okay with that. Our officials, we can deal our own games. As long as we don't play our own games, but we're finally breaking ground. We might have an opportunity for barbecue bach or 3-Shot Poker in our own property. So we're really excited about that. So, but our company's been very supportive. They give us our days off to go to these conventions and events. So they've been supportive. So we're happy where we're at, and we're happy with our management, and they always talk about our games. They'll even go to our events in Las Vegas. They've seen us and they support us. So it's been good.
Well, that's very cool, and it's one of those little things where, just a little bit of positive and a little bit of support. Like if you want that time off to go do that thing, fantastic. Yeah. Listen, I don't want to talk about the elephant in the room, but Stephen DeMar just showed up.
Hey,
what's up, Steve?
Good morning, gents.
Good to see you, buddy.
How are you?
We're doing well. How are you doing?
I am doing very, very well. We are having our Monday management meeting, and you've saved me from an hour and a half of snoozerama, so I'm delighted. Thank you.
Stephen, I should probably tell you at this point we are recording.
Our management meetings, in the meetings I tell you they're snoozeramas.
I couldn't comment.
How excited do you get about electrons? I mean, let's be real.
It's fair point. I mean, I get excited about them when they're firing in my own brain.
Right, but when we're talking about that we're a server down, or we need a server here, or this server just broke, it's a pretty pedestrian part of the meeting. I'm A-okay missing it.
Okay, so I'm flying solo slightly because Fintan's having some broadband issues, but he's been sending me questions on WhatsApp.
Okay.
So I'm treating it sort of like it's a live seance.
Can I give you just a preamble of these guys? Um, I know you're in a different country, but
It's
these
more of a
guys,
post-amble.
okay. These guys are the real deal great American dream. Um, they do something else for a living, and they are at the very top of their game. They are all real, genuine, three-dimensional in-casino card dealers in Colorado. They play cards 8 hours a day, every day. That's how they feed their families. As a result, they have become very, very obviously accomplished in the manipulation of cards and the adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing of cards. But more importantly, they've become very dialed into the feeling of cards. What does a game feel like? Which, as we all know, is the thing that distinguishes a good game from a bad game.
Yeah.
They, over a period of time, got together, pooled their resources, and without trying to be disingenuous, they're not getting rich as card dealers. Okay, they're making a living. There are not a lot of billionaire card dealers that I'm aware of in the world. So there may be, but I just don't happen to know any of them.
Yeah, we don't know anybody.
And so they have come up with basically a sequel of games that are all kind of interconnected, where they pool together either using share cards, either using shared jackpots, either using shared progressives, and they're fun. The biggest thing I knew when they were a winner is I've been married to the same woman for 46 years. We adore each other. But my wife does not play cards, not of any kind, shape, size, or form, and has absolutely no interest. You and your brother do what you do, and I'm glad you do it. But if I'm going to lose $100 or $500, I'd rather go to the shoe store and buy some shoes. That's her vision of what we're doing. I actually, when I was playing the first prototype of this game, got her playing it, which may or may not sound like a big deal, but she went from "don't bother" to me, "this is kind of interesting," which is really what I thought was the litmus test of taking non-gaming people and having them become engaged in this game. And that's when we went all in on this game. So they are experts. They will tell you all about their story, but this is not a venture-funded company where Google gave them $50 million and said, do what you can. These are guys that are working all day to design card games at night, and then they're peddling them on the road because, as we all know, to set up a card game, unlike the business we're in where it's digital, they have to literally get on an airplane and go fly somewhere and train 24/7 dealers on how to deal the game. And if the dealers don't embrace it and the dealers don't like it, it doesn't matter how good the game is. It's never going to go anywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, and about how what these guys do gives them the language to and gives them a degree of respect walking in the door to talk to other dealers. I was thinking, I was looking at your barbecue baccarat t-shirts. And I did say I hope Fintan's looking at this, because swag Fintan. I was thinking sometimes the name of a game must be the first thing it's thought of, and then the game that fits it. So here's another little gift for you, as well as the blackjack one. Balls Out Baccarat, right? And when you're doing the logo, the two C's could be a pair of, you know what I mean?
Angel, may I suggest you call IGT for that one? I'm pretty sure my management committee is going to have a problem with making
I can do that. Maybe.
But if you want to send us the artwork, we'll get it framed.
But I love how your mind works, though, man. It's you're very creative, man. I love it. I love it.
And you know what's in a name? A lot of our names come from things we're hearing on the casino floor. Barbecue Baccarat was a term we kept hearing in our Baccarat pit until one of our designers says, you know how everyone keeps saying barbecue, barbecue? We need to make a game based on this, because all the players that play it already know what it is.
Yeah. And we got lucky that once we started the math, we were thinking maybe a side bet of sorts, or maybe a couple of bets around the wording. But we got lucky that our mathematician said the casino guys were shining on us and blessed us, because the non-commission instrument, could be applied with a 7/6 banker win would be a push, and the math worked out perfectly. It was just perfect. So the whole game evolves around 7/6, whether it's a banker on the player side. But for the non-commission mechanism, the 7/6 banker winner allowed us to do a push on a banker 7/6 win. So the whole game just came together miraculously through math, and the casino guys were blessing us on through that aspect. So all the bets evolve around 7/6, whether it's a 3-card or a 2-card win. That's a big banker, small banker. On the player side, 3-card, 2-card, big player barbecue, or small barbecue. And the good thing about it is that it doesn't necessarily have to be 3-card over 3-card. It could be a 3-card over or 2 or 3 cards. So all the bets evolve around that concept.
Interestingly, I know that we have at least one listener at an Asian operator, and they obviously need to have a look at barbecue baccarat, I think.
Oh, we like to target Asia, because at G2E we kept coming across a lot of operators, and some of them heard the term, but we've had people from Asia and the Philippines. They heard of it. They were like, well, why did it take so long for somebody to come up with this gaming concept? We hear barbecue all the time, and we look at each other like, it's here, it is right here. All we need is that one property that wants to be the spearhead the industry, and be revolutionary, and give it an opportunity, and we would be more than happy to travel to Macau, Philippines, wherever we got to go to train. But the game is so easy, and it's playable, it's fun.
Cool. I mean, and that was a great pitch as well, Stephen. You've trained them well.
No, these guys, they haven't told you about their successes yet. They literally got in a car and they drove to Firekeepers in Michigan, which is really far from Colorado, got the game going, put it up themselves. They then went to Vegas, and they've got them in all the Harrah's properties, and they're continuously ordering them. So they're well on their way to success, but it happened on a one-on-one basis, where they literally invested and just put the time in at the dealers, at the operators. They deal in Colorado, and they're going to get them placed in Colorado. So that I'm not sure is an arm's length deal. That's because they know somebody. I'm trying to get them to go right now into Soaring Eagle in Michigan, so that there's an overlap between their game and land-based and what OddsWorks is doing online, which is what I think is going to be their key, because no matter how good they are at dealing, my computer deals better than they do. It never makes mistakes. It never gets drunk. It never comes in late. It never has a hangover. Never has a kid in jail. So in that respect, it's going to be a much cleaner game, because the output will be 100% of the time.
Yeah, and the speed of settling is. Sorry, Angel.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm done.
No, yeah, and what I like is what OddsWorks has been doing and collaborating with us is the application is going to allow more hands per hour. Of course, like you said, the accuracy and the preciseness of it, the cleanness of the game, but the animation, the sound, it just amplifies it. So we're excited. We're excited to launch. We're getting there. We're getting close, but to launch the online space and have that connectivity with the brick and mortar in Michigan and the online space in Michigan is going to give the game a big boost. So we're excited. We can't wait.
And every individual hand is a triple hand. So unlike a regular table in brick and mortar, where basically a player gets a hand or two, every player is offered 3 hands at the outset. So what would be a normal 8 or 9 person table is essentially 27 positions versus 9.
Yeah.
More hands per hour, the better hit frequency. It just takes the game to another level that we never dreamt of. So we're excited about that.
I would think as dealers as well, it'd be a very different energy to something like that, because you're constantly going to be having people hit. You're constantly, at a full table, it's going to be like hit after hit after hit, and that makes a buzz. And I would think as a dealer that would be pretty nice to be a part of.
Yes, because the psychology of a player, if they like a game, no matter how much they like a game, but you got to give it that little bit of reinforcement by hitting a hand. And sometimes we deal some games where a player will play $900, $1,000 and not catch a pair. And we always look at each other like 3-shot poker is the answer, because the hit frequency is so healthy. You're going to be paying more often than not, and that just reinforces the player's perception of the game, and it just keeps the excitement going. So it doesn't break the house. The RTP is perfect. The house edge is perfect. The payouts are great. But just having that healthy hit frequency helps a lot.
I would imagine that with the frequency working that way as well, that I don't know if this is something you've been able to measure thus far, but I'd be willing to bet that you probably have the player for longer at the table.
Yes,
100%.
Yes, they'll stay longer. And what we've noticed too, not only will they play longer, but the players get excited. They start teaching other players how to play, and that's one of the key things for us. Like Steven was saying, that his wife can learn and pick it up, and she's not a card player. That's a
Well,
big.
she's also got a Northwestern master's degree. So intellectual horsepower is not the problem. Interest and focus are the problem. And this caught her interest.
Correct. That's huge. But like somebody that doesn't play table games or poker can pick it up, relatively easily. That's pretty good. And then, like you said, capture the interest on top of that. So when we have players teaching other players how to play, we think that's gonna be big.
Okay, I'm sold. Anybody wishing to buy shares in casino gaming development? No, I'm just kidding. But where would somebody go? So if somebody is interested in talking about the online version of 3-shot poker, they need to talk to Stephen at Oddsworks. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Correct.
if somebody's interested in the table games product, they need to where can people find casino gaming development?
Online, we are at casinogamingdevelopment.com. My email's there. You can my cell phone's there, my number or my contact information. You can reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to email and send some information packets and talk more about the game. We also have links to play our games on our website, so you can play the games, try them out for fun, and then for the online space with Steven and his team, his great team at Oddsworks, that'll be the number one way to go.
You're also missing one market share that we haven't even addressed yet, and that's electronic table games, ETG. This is a no-brainer for an ETG. If I was to design where I would put this, I'd put this on a cruise ship.
Yes, and especially what Oddsworks came up with the multi-hand for ETG, it lends itself perfect for ETGs. Now, that's going to increase the revenue hands per hour, but it's just perfect for ETGs. We have what's called a stadium blackjack here for either stadium blackjack, dealer assisted, multiple consoles. People can play multiple hands. That lends itself for that too, but definitely ETGs. That's where we see 3-shot poker doing really well in the brick and mortar space.
Okay, cruise ship's an interesting one. I'm pretty sure we have a listener involved in cruise ship casinos as well.
Right. The problem with cruise ships is that their dealers are not as crackerjack as land-based casino dealers. They generally are blackjack, baccarat, and crap centric. So to learn a new game, and don't forget, the casinos are only open 2 hours here, 4 hours there, 6 hours there. So the dealers are generally doing something else when they're not dealing, where the dealer is an ancillary part of their job. To be able to take a simplistic game and highly automate it to where it plays perfect, I think is a real, it's a much stronger advantage of making, say, blackjack and ETG, because their blackjack dealers are satisfactory.
Yeah.
And so the places I've seen ETGs work on cruise ships is for Texas Hold'em tables.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Where,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
the game is so simple to learn that you can pick it up on ATG on your own. It lends itself, and it's the simplicity of it.
Okay. I don't know
those are their
Fintan...
markets.
Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, those are their markets, and they haven't touched them yet.
Yeah.
And don't forget, the beauty of a table game is, although there's never any home runs in them, they're evergreen. They pretty much run forever.
Yes. Yeah.
Unlike a slot machine that for 30 days is red, 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 red hot, and then tails down pretty fast.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I'm not sure about. I don't want to report Fintan's death prematurely, but he's gone very, very quiet.
Has he been taking his vitamins?
I'm really not sure.
Fintan, come back.
I can't speak for him in that respect because, well, he's an adult. You know, I mean, he's a grown man. He can wipe his own ass. I think the one question that I know Fintan would want me to ask you guys is, have you watched Cobra Kai?
No, I have not.
Are you talking about the new show from the spin-off from the Karate Kid?
Yeah. I mean, new episodes are coming. I think July, December, and then next year.
Yeah, I think I caught the first season.
It was all going so well until you're like, well, maybe I caught the first season. No, I haven't seen it. This is going to be the shortest episode we ever put out. It's just going to be like, welcome, Angel, welcome, Colin. It's lovely to have you here. Have you seen Cobra Kai? Okay, bye.
No.
Angel, did you bring any of the other team, or just you two guys?
The two of us, the girls are working, and Tommy's on his other job. So.
Okay, I'll have his chip shuffling by the next time I see him.
They've done great. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, and sincerely wish you a lot of luck with this. And anybody that wants to have a look at these, look at the online product. Stephen's company is Oddsworks. Is it Oddsworks Gaming, Stephen?
Just Oddsworks, oddsworks.com.
Okay. Oddsworks.com for the online version. Talk to Stephen DeMar. Or obviously you can contact us at the podcast and we'd be happy to introduce you. And casinogamingdevelopment.com for the table game. Good luck with all of it. It sounds terrific, and you're obviously working very, very hard to achieve things. So we wish you.
Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate you. And Stephen, thanks for joining us. We're so excited to see what Oddsworks going to do, and what they're going to be a game changer for us. So we're so excited where we're going. And thank you for the exposure and having us on your podcast. We're so grateful. Appreciate you.
Thank you. And Fintan, if you can hear us, you want some swag, we'll send you some T-shirts.
We'll send you some swag, buddy.
I thought you guys were sending out puppies this week.
What's that?
Weren't you sending out puppies with your logo on them?
Yeah.
I just got 2 messages from Fintan. It's just yes, all in caps, and then swag, all in caps.
Got it, buddy.
Oh yeah, you got it, man.
That's it. That's all he sent in an hour. You know, it's like, great. Thanks, Fintan. Yes, swag.
All right, he's still alive, so we're happy about that.
Yeah.
Yes, good work on being alive, Fintan. Thank you. I'll speak on his behalf. Yes, I'd love some T-shirts. Thank you kindly. There you go. Gentlemen, thank you very much. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Gambling Files podcast, please find us on LinkedIn, give us a big, juicy, succulent like. That nearly went wrong. You can find us under the name The Gambling Files Podcast. You can find us on Twitter under The Gambling Files. I think the handle is just @GamblingFiles. You can connect to myself, John Bruford, or Fintan Costello, also on LinkedIn. We're also both on Twitter. And you can find all of our previous episodes at www.thegamblingfiles.com. If you enjoyed it, please share, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your colleagues, and we'll see you next time.